Introduction to Civil Forfeiture. What would you do if law enforcement seized your hard-earned property without charging you with a crime? It's happening more than you think. Stay tuned as we expose the truth about civil forfeiture and show you how to protect yourself. In the United States, civil forfeiture has emerged as a deeply controversial practice where law enforcement officials seize private property, often without charging individuals with any crimes. This practice, which has gained traction across many jurisdictions, is increasingly being used as a revenue source by police departments, rather than serving its intended purpose of addressing criminal activities. This report explores the fundamental issues of civil forfeiture, its potential violations of constitutional rights, and the methods through which individuals can protect themselves. In addition to the severe implications for private property rights, civil forfeiture represents a growing shift in law enforcement's role in society. By focusing on financial gains rather than public service, police have blurred the lines between protecting citizens and exploiting them for profit. The main question is whether this practice constitutes robbery under the guise of authority. Footnote: Civil forfeiture is a legal mechanism that allows law enforcement agencies to seize assets without the owner being charged with a crime, resulting in significant concerns regarding personal rights and due process. How law enforcement uses civil forfeiture. Civil forfeiture begins when a police officer stops an individual, often on the basis of a routine traffic stop. While such stops are supposed to serve public safety, many officers are now trained to ask if drivers are carrying large sums of cash. This question is usually unrelated to any criminal investigation and, in many cases, serves as a pretext to confiscate property. If the officer discovers cash or valuables, they may claim, without any supporting evidence, that the individual is involved in criminal activity. The burden of proof then shifts to the individual, who must often pursue costly and lengthy legal battles to recover their property. The reality is that most individuals never recover their seized assets, despite having committed no crime. Footnote: The principle of civil forfeiture allows law enforcement to seize property, not based on the owner's criminal activity, but simply due to the suspicion that the property may be linked to a crime. The legal and constitutional implications. Legally, the concept of forfeiture implies that property is voluntarily relinquished. However, under civil forfeiture, this is not the case. Property is seized without consent or due process. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution guarantees protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, but civil forfeiture undermines this safeguard. Police officers may seize property without a warrant, based solely on suspicion, and without any criminal charges filed against the individual. This practice, which operates under the justification of public safety, effectively allows law enforcement to bypass constitutional protections, making it a form of state-sanctioned theft. In many instances, the individuals whose property is taken are never even informed of the legal reasons behind the seizure, leading to significant legal and ethical concerns. Footnote: The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures, but civil forfeiture practices often violate this protection by allowing the government to seize property without due process or criminal conviction. The growing trend of policing for profit. The widespread use of civil forfeiture has given rise to the practice of policing for profit, where law enforcement agencies increasingly rely on the revenue generated from seized property to fund their operations. This creates a perverse incentive for officers to target individuals based on the potential for profit rather than public service. Many departments have even enlisted private trainers to teach officers how to effectively implement these strategies. As a result, police forces are no longer focused solely on protecting and serving the public, they are incentivized to increase the amount of money and property they seize. This shift in priorities has led to a direct conflict of interest, where law enforcement's financial motivations undermine the principles of justice and fairness. Footnote: Policing for profit is a practice where law enforcement uses civil forfeiture as a primary revenue source, creating a financial incentive to seize property, often at the expense of individuals' rights and justice. The constitutional crisis and public accountability. Civil forfeiture is a clear violation of public trust and constitutional principles. Law enforcement officers, in their pursuit of financial gain, often ignore the public interest, using their power to violate individual rights. Despite the obvious moral and legal issues, courts continue to allow civil forfeiture to persist, offering little recourse for those whose property has been unjustly seized. In response, it is essential for citizens to hold public servants accountable. Government officials must be reminded of their constitutional obligations to serve the public interest, not private interests. Citizens should actively participate in city council meetings, write to their representatives, and advocate for an end to civil forfeiture practices that undermine fundamental rights. Footnote: Government accountability is crucial in ensuring that civil liberties are protected, and civil forfeiture must be addressed through public activism and legal challenges to restore the rule of law. How to protect yourself from civil forfeiture. If you are stopped by law enforcement and asked about carrying cash or valuables, it is critical to invoke your rights and remain silent. Many individuals make the mistake of voluntarily disclosing information, which can then be used against them. Footnote: Invoking your rights during a traffic stop and refraining from engaging in conversation with officers is the most effective strategy to protect your property from unjust seizure. This report examines the constitutional and legal issues surrounding civil forfeiture, its implications for personal rights, and practical steps you can take to protect yourself. The widespread practice of civil forfeiture undermines individual liberty and due process, and it is critical that citizens stand against this violation of their rights. Don't let the government take what's rightfully yours. Learn how to fight back against civil forfeiture and protect your rights. Remember, knowledge is power, and it's time to take action.